on Mind Over MS, we're going to be talking about hydration, water, sodium levels, and how this is all going to affect everybody in general, but those specifically suffering with MS or other chronic conditions. So make sure that you stay through the whole thing and gain all the information to help you maintain better hydration. Welcome to episode 16 of Mind Over MS. So, today we are going to be looking at hydration and what is the optimal amount of water to drink, what types of water treatment, and timing of water, and different effects of being dehydrated. So, the first thing I want to just talk about, I think we're all aware of some of the sorry, some of the effects of dehydration. So the one that we're all most common with would just be when you start to get like headachy or you get a bit faint or fatigued. A lot of times we notice this in the summertime when we've had a lot of sun, we've done a lot of exertion. Headaches, a lot of times I tell my kids when they get headaches to instantly just go and start to drink some more water, which is a good suggestion. So I think that another thing that dehydration will have an effect in the body is your digestion. And for a lot of people, this one might seem as obvious, but there's quite a few factors for this. So one is just going to be that the hydrochloric acid in your stomach is what is helping to initially break down your food and fight off any infections, bacteria, things going into the body. If you are drinking water with your meal or you're drinking cold water, these are things that can affect the amount of hydrochloric acid in your stomach, affecting your digestion, and also maybe any sickness or any contaminants in the food as well. So we want to make sure that we're not drinking with our meal, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are topping up all the fluids in our body so that our body can make these things like the acid we need in our stomach and our pancreatic juices and everything else efficiently. So blood pressure is also something that's very affected by hydration, and I think that people, I mean, you might think of the obvious thing of that, the more viscous your blood is, or the more easily it can move through your body. Your heart doesn't have to pump so hard to move everything. But I don't think that a lot of us understand that the blood pressure is regulated through our kidneys. And then it starts to make more sense again how hydration is going to have an impact on your blood pressure. So the more that we drink and that we're fully hydrated, the more it stabilizes out our blood pressure because there is more fluid available. So another thing that hydration can do is if you think about your blood has to maintain a certain pH level and it has to maintain a certain amount of fluid in it in order for you to live. And your body is like a priority setting. So it's going to do the things that are required first to live more so than the other things. So in this case, now you're going to be drinking water and it's if you don't have enough of it in your system, then your blood is going to be pulling water out of other things like the fluid around your eyes or the synovial joints, which can lead to pain like arthritic type pain and inflammation because there's not as much fluid anymore in the places where it needs to be. So, again, hydration now can affect things that may not seem like they correlate in the beginning, like arthritic pain or eye problems or other types like I mean all your systems are if the fluid is being pulled away from them and into the blood to maintain a certain homeostasis of the blood, the other systems are going to suffer. So, thinking about MS in general, then, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily impact the nervous system in this case, but when we are already so compromised, when we have a chronic condition, we don't really want our body to have to be trying really hard to maintain other functions because we want all of the extra energy and effort to go into repairing the systems that are already damaged, as opposed to just the hard process of trying to maintain homeostasis constantly in every other system in the body. Um, so, uh, how much water do we want to be drinking? So I know that there is not 100% consensus on this, but in my opinion, in my own personal experience, I'm thinking that the best thing is generally 8 cups of fluid or water for every approximate 100 pounds of weight. So you just scale that up or down depending if you're dealing with a kid or with a larger adult. But when you think about all the things that you're going to lose water for in a day, so we're going to lose it some for just urination, some is going to be lost through the colon. We're going to have a lot of it is actually done through respiration as well. Um, which can be another sign of actually dehydration too, which I didn't mention, is that your lungs require like a lot of fluid in order to exchange the gases in the alveolus, and because when you're breathing, you're always losing some amount of oxygen. Sorry, not oxygen. You're exchanging the oxygen, but you're losing some of your fluid back out. You can start to have difficulties with breathing and other things when you're dehydrated as well. So, I mean, again, I don't think there's really a system that's not affected in your body when you're dehydrated. Um, but back to just the amount of how much you're going to be drinking. So we're losing it then through sweating as well. And then we also lose it like through, especially if we're at nighttime, we're breathing through our mouths, which we talked about in other episodes of taping the mouth to help create nitric oxide and other benefits and sleep deeper for the lymphatic drain. So there's all these ways in which we're losing water throughout the day, and we want to be replenishing that back into our body. So I would say that you want about that 8 cups of water for every 100 pounds of weight. And that would just be on an average day, though. So if you're doing things like having a sauna to detoxify, or you're doing physical activity, you're gardening, landscaping, going for a jog, anything where you're going to be sweating more, temperatures are hotter, you're going to want to account for that extra loss of fluid. So, one of the things that when people start to talk about consuming more fluid, especially I just did a 5 day fast, and there's so much water consumption required during it. I did feel like I was urinating a lot. Now, in this fast, I followed the prolonged fast where they give you specific things in which you're supposed to only consume and supplements and things you're eating. So I didn't do what I normally do, which is to drink salt with my water. But I did feel like, I don't know if it was because of the lack of sodium there, or was it because of just the amount of fluid. I was urinating frequently. So, and I mean, I already felt like that was a problem anyway. But I mean, if this is something that's an issue for you, then one of the suggestions I would make is, instead of drinking big, like chugging a whole thing of water at once, take sips of that water, like a half a cup, a quarter cup of the water at a time, and then come back and let that process through your body do it again. And then don't drink before bed. So, especially people with MS, if you're finding that you have to get up frequently to urinate in the night, then just like not eating 3 hours before bed, stop drinking then maybe too. Try to get all the fluid in earlier in the day so your body is fully hydrated, and you're going to get your 8 hours sleep because that's important too. So, as we're getting the 8 hours of sleep, we don't want to be disturbed by having to, frequent urination during the night. So, that will solve that problem. And then also the other thing, and we touched on it briefly already too, is the timing of drinking. So you don't want to drink during a meal or a lot right before a meal. And this is to do with digestion and the hydrochloric acid, and you want to keep that level up in your body. So when we drink a lot of water, we're diluting that stomach acid. And this is going to correlate again into MS specifically, because a lot of people with MS have motility issues, slow moving through the digestion tract. And if you're already starting with impaired digestive enzymes and hydrochloric acid at the starting of your digestion, that's just going to increase the amount of effort required as it moves to digest and go through your body. So, if you, though, need to drink something before a meal, or you're struggling with digestion, you might want to just have a small glass of water with some lemon juice squeezed into it, because that will actually increase the hydrochloric acid, but it also gives you some fluid if that's what you feel like you're needing to like sip on or help during a meal. So that would be the suggestion there. And now, as far as like what type of water to drink, I know that if you go online, there's going to be all kinds of things all over the place. I know right now, actually, hydrogen water has become pretty popular. People are talking a lot about that. I actually don't have a lot of personal experience with that, so I'm not going to speak to it. I'm not saying whether that's valid or not. Do your own research on that one. But as for myself, there is zero chance I'm going to drink tap water. I used to come from Toronto, and I trusted the Toronto city water better than now being in Newmarket. The water here is terrible. There is so much sediment in it. It stains the toilets, the sinks, it clogs all of the filters in my house. So I wouldn't drink that. So what I do is I do have an Alexa Pure. I'm not promoting anything here. I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. You could just do a Berkey if you want. It's kind of expensive. The filters are also expensive. You don't have to replace them often, but the cost of a filter is more expensive. But I also found just for the size of mine and the cost of it, there's no way it's going to do a family of four plus my pets because they also drink filtered water. It's really honestly just at this point, the Alexa Pure is really doing the Bunny and Ruby, Rottweiler, who drinks a copious amounts of water. So what I had to do instead is I actually distill my water. And I know that that's also controversial. And depending on what you read, you can get mixed reviews on that. Because what they say on the negative side of distilling the water is that you're taking not only all of the bad things like the fluoride and any of the chemicals that are being put in the water, you're taking that out, but you're also taking any trace minerals and the other minerals that are out of the water. And that is true. And I can definitely see, like, after I'm done purifying my water, the sludge that's left over is disgusting. And maybe some of those things were beneficial, but I would say based on the water here, most of it is harmful. So you want to actually be getting most of your nutrients from food over water anyway, and for most of us, that's hopefully what we're doing. But the soils are depleted, especially of magnesium now from industrial farming. We're not always getting organics or getting healthy things. So what I like to do is actually add back in a little bit of salt. So I know that they actually say to add the salt into your water, but I personally think it tastes pretty gross. You can try that. I don't think it dissolves that well. I don't really like the taste of the water then, which makes me want to drink less. So what I do is generally I just take a little bit of, I will use Himalayan pink salt if that's what I have, but Celtic salt is actually preferred. I'll tell you about that reasons in a minute, but still for the process, what I just do is with each time I fill a mason jar, which is 500 milliliters or 2 cups of water, I just take a little bit of that salt and I just place it on my tongue and I just let it dissolve. So I don't chew it, I don't swallow it, I just let it dissolve in my mouth. It's going to take in all of the minerals. And once you have that now in your body, that's replacing anything that you lost in the water by distilling it. So you're going to get all of those minerals back in minus all of the damaging things. And I just like it as a little reminder each time I pour the glass of water during the day, I take a little bit of the salt, dissolve it. You get the benefits in without having to taste it constantly in your water. Now, any kind of sea salt is still better. Like table salt, forget it. Don't have table salt. Table salt is why they tell you that it increases blood pressure, and you're always told to reduce salt, which is a good idea if you're having processed foods, which with MS or anybody really take that out because they're all terrible for multiple reasons, not just sodium. But table salt, it actually the two main things in sea salt when it starts to dry out is chloride and sodium. And so when it's starting to dry, they take that out first. And those two things, they then add into make it into table salt, aluminum, and there might be some other chemicals I'm not recalling right now. Anyway, those are terrible for you. So you're not going to want to have table salt. And yes, that will increase your blood pressure and do other damaging things to your body. So when I'm talking about salt here, that's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about like actual Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, and the real sea salt. Now, Himalayan pink salt is going to have, I can't remember the exact number, but around 70 trace minerals in it, which is still pretty good. We want all those minerals, take it. Celtic salt is going to be even better because you're getting more into the mid 90s with the amount of minerals. Plus, you're getting 3 types of magnesium that is only in the Celtic salt. And those magnesium are going to be really beneficial. And for everybody needs that. We're all depleted in it because also we use up any magnesium in our body by stress as well, and all of us are living stressful lives now. But we also want that magnesium specifically with MS because we are having problems with muscle spasms. A lot of us, we're having problem with muscle coordination, we're having problem with sleeping, restless legs, and twitching at night. All of these things are made better by having good doses of magnesium. So that's why I would suggest the Celtic salt over regular salt. And in this case, depending on what you, some people already have a whole house filter, which is great because you do absorb things through your skin. So you might still be getting some of the fluoride and other dangerous things through your skin. So, but if you don't have that, some people might have the reverse osmosis. I'm not really up on all of these different treatment things. I'm only talking about the things that I specifically use. So if I haven't mentioned something that you use specifically and you've done the research, I mean, stick with what you know and what's working for you. These are just going to be little tricks of things that I'm using personally so I can speak to the benefits of it. So another thing just with MS, why we want to make sure that we're really hydrated. We kind of talked about it a little bit already, but a lot of people with MS are suffering with urinary tract infection. So we really want to make sure that we are flushing out our bladder effectively. And again, just throughout the day, we don't want to be up at night, but having drinking a lot of clean water is going to be able to help flush all of that. So it's going to help to reduce the urinary tract infections. And then we want it also for our bowels because we have low motility and there's a lot of problems with getting the fecal matter to move through down to the colon. We want to make sure that we're keeping it hydrated so that it's not getting really hard and then even more difficult to pass. So we want to be drinking a lot of water throughout the day. And water just in general also is going to help with maintaining all of the hormones in our system and all of the balance and homeostasis of all the other systems. And when everything is working more effectively, then we don't have to try so hard to do all of the other functions. And it's going to give us a lot of time to work on repairing the myelin in our brain and any lost function. It's going to make us more efficient at doing any physio or any exercise routines that we're trying to incorporate to stay healthy and to recover. So hydration is super important. And it is a really easy thing to do. Now, I know some of the things I talked about today do have a cost involved with them. So I can't say that this is one of the things that is completely free. But I think that for the amount of water that we're going to drink in our life and how beneficial it is, these are some of the things like, a distiller you can get for, $100, $150 at least Canadian from any online store or maybe anywhere that sells it locally to you. It is a good investment. So the amount that I use mine and the benefit that I get from having the clean water, I think it is a worthwhile investment, even though there is some cost to it. Now adding just even the Celtic salt and the Himalayan salt, I mean, you're already, if you're buying just table salt in general, just make a switch to a better product and you're gonna your body will really thank you for that, because maybe some of the other supplements that are really expensive that you're taking, maybe you're going to find the need that you don't have to take so many of them if you're getting enough of these minerals just through the salt. And it's really much more bioavailable then too. And the beautiful thing about taking it in something like a Celtic salt is that you're getting all of those minerals combined together in a balance that your body needs. And so you're not having to try to like man-made, oh, I took some vitamin D3, so now I've got to take the A and I've got to take this amount of K. And you have to start planning all these things. I mean, if you're taking something where God and nature has created it in perfect balance, that's wonderful. Now, I'm just going to add something in here that's a little techy. I left it to the end in case some of you don't really want this amount of detail. But I mean, your body has, in each cell, you have a membrane around the outside. And the membrane is, inside the cell has got water, and outside the cell, your extrastitial fluid, it's got liquid and fluid as well. And they can both become dehydrated, both inside the cell and outside of the cell. Now, on the cell, you have these pumps, and the pumps can either be potassium and sodium or magnesium and calcium. And you want those to be able to move things in and out of the cell, as well as nutrients in and to detoxify all the metabolic waste is to be able to come out. And so you want the cells to be plump themselves. You want the fluid outside to be healthy and good. The terrain is wonderful, which is why we want all this fluid, because we want to have a pH balance that's really healthy. But we also want to get all those minerals in, because um, this is going to, if you have the right and types and balance of all of these minerals, it's going to help to move those things like the magnesium that you need into your cell. Because otherwise, sometimes you could take these supplements, but if everything is dehydrated and you don't have the right balance of them, it's just going to be wasted. It's not actually going to effectively move through these channels. Now, this is why I also like PEMF. For those of you that watch my other videos, that is something that I offer as well, because the PEMF helps to give voltage and ions, negative ions inside of the cell and positive outside, and it creates this beautiful plump cell, which is now able to like bounce off other cells because they have the right polarity to each other. They can move through your veins and arteries more efficiently. They can communicate more efficiently. Now, having the right amount of these trace minerals and sodium in particular, and the right type, like we've just talked about, of sodium, is really, really going to be important for your cells, as well as getting this magnesium in. So with all of that kind of other stuff aside, just at the basic level, you're just going to feel better if you're more hydrated. So everybody, make sure going forward from this moment on, everybody go get your salts and make sure you're drinking tons of water throughout the day. So I hope that that was helpful to anybody. Happy hydration.